Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we're taking a look today at the new Amazon Fire HD 8 tablet. This is an 8-inch tablet that has been around for a while, but this is a new iteration that adds some new features, but surprisingly doesn't add anything new inside of it. So this is really the same tablet from a performance standpoint that Amazon has been offering since 2016, but there are some new features that this one has that we will be covering in this review, among other things. Now, I do want to let you know, though, in the interest of full disclosure, that I paid for this with my own funds. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Nobody is paying for this review, nor has anyone reviewed or approved what you're about to see before it was uploaded. So let's get into it now and see what this tablet is all about. So let's take a closer look now at the hardware. This runs at about $79 as you see it, but there's a catch for that low price, and that is advertising. You have to put up with ads on the lock screen. Amazon calls them special offers, and when you turn the device off and then back on again, you will see an ad, and you can easily just swipe it away and move on. But if you don't like the ads, you can spend $95 and get the same tablet without the ads on there. It is pretty much the same from a hardware standpoint as last year's tablet, with one exception, a new camera on the front. It is now 2 megapixels versus a lower resolution camera that was on there last year, but otherwise it is the same hardware. It's a MediaTek MT8163V/B, has the same amount of RAM, 1.5 gigabytes, and it also has 16 gigabytes of internal storage. There's also a version that offers 32 gigabytes of internal storage. So the hardware is really the same if you use last year's tablet. The display is the same as well. It is a nice display, though, at least for the price. 1280 by 800. It's IPS, so you've got really nice viewing angles on it. Really not bad as a reading device or media consumption device. Decent color on it. But you'll notice the screen is very shiny, and there's no anti-fingerprint coating on it like you might see on more expensive devices. So it's going to pick up fingerprints and grease very, very easily, so keep a cloth around for it. I don't like to dress products up here on the channel, so this is what it's going to look like when you get it out of the box and start playing with it. It will very quickly pick up a lot of that grease from your fingers there, so just be ready for that. So while the hardware is pretty much the same as last year's version, they did make a pretty significant update to the software inside of this, and they've added now the ability to issue voice commands to the tablet, much like you would with one of their Echo devices using the A word. So for example, I could say to the tablet here while it's off, Amazon, tell me the weather in New York City.
Currently, in New York, it's 68 degrees Fahrenheit with mostly cloudy skies.
So you can see here that it's in always listening mode, and it just turned itself on when it heard the trigger word and was able to execute a command. It will do any of the Echo commands you're familiar with, so you can integrate it right into the rest of your home there, and you also get visual feedback from it too. And we'll be looking at one other neat feature related to in-home use with the voice commands that you might find interesting. So that's probably the biggest change here on their low-end tablet. The only other tablet up until now that did this was their 10-inch version. So for $79, you can get a Echo device with a screen, which I thought was kind of nice. This is running FireOS 6, which is the new version of Amazon's operating system. Now, this is derived from Android, but it doesn't run stuff from the Google Play Store. And I always like to remind people about this, because if you buy this tablet, even though it's running Android, you can't just go in and install all the apps that you had on your Google Play account. There's ways to get it on here, but it's not all that consumer friendly. I'm sure folks down in the comments will tell you how to do it, or at least point you in that direction, but generally it's not something that a lot of consumers are going to do. So if you have apps purchased on another platform, you likely have to buy them again on this one. Now, the tablet weighs 12.8 ounces or 363 grams, so not all that heavy. You can even hold it with one hand if your hand is moderately sized. So if you're looking for something with a larger screen that you can hold with a single hand comfortably, this might do it for you. Not much for ports on this one. You've got stereo speakers here on this side for watching media. So if you're watching stuff, you might want to have those speakers pointed downward there. On the other side here, you've got the built-in SD card slot. And another little improvement on this one versus last year's version is that you can put in larger, from a capacity standpoint, SD cards on here. This will take up to a 400 gigabyte card. Last year's version topped out at around 200 gigabytes. So if you have a lot of media to put in, you can get it in there. You got a camera here on the back, nothing spectacular on that front, same as last year, so not great image quality, but it is a cheap tablet after all. Your power button is right here. This connector is used for charging, but it also works as an on-the-go USB port, so you could conceivably plug in a game controller or something into that port. It also has Bluetooth support too, so you could use wireless devices with it. One thing I've heard from people over the years is that sometimes this connector causes some trouble over time. I don't think this will be any better or worse than prior versions there, so just be careful when you're plugging in that charging cable. Headphone jack is right here. You got a built-in microphone over there. This will support headsets too with microphones built in, and you've got a volume rocker over there. Battery life on this, they say, is up to 10 hours. I think that's probably realistic if you're doing web browsing and some other minor kinds of stuff. If you're doing something more aggressive like game playing and that sort of thing, that will certainly tax the processor more and obviously reduce battery life. But I think for media watching and web browsing, 8 to 10 hours is not unreasonable from a battery life standpoint. So let's take a look now and see how it performs, and we'll begin with some basic web browsing here. It's not too bad when you're on a site that doesn't have a lot of JavaScript running. So for example, nasa.gov, which doesn't have all the advertising, for example, that a news site might have, does seem to load up pretty quickly here. Even videos are popping up here without too many problems. I can hit play on that and see how that streams up here. So you can see, by and large, it's not bad from a general browsing standpoint. Now, there are a few sites that are beginning to tax this aging processor a bit, namely news sites that load in a lot of advertising and might have a lot of JavaScript running in the background. You'll notice some of those web pages really don't load up all that quickly and maybe act a little sluggish on this particular tablet. This is partly due to the fact that the processor is getting a bit long in the tooth, and if you have that voice activation enabled, that no doubt might take up some resources as well. So just keep that in mind. It's not going to be a speed demon. If you are a YouTube fan, this is probably not the tablet for you because Google and Amazon have been fighting with each other for years over YouTube on Amazon devices. And what they've put together is this fake app, which is what I call it, because it says youtube.com on it, but it actually goes to the YouTube website and not to an official app. So what you're looking at here is essentially the mobile web version of YouTube, and you don't get very high quality video out of this. So you'll notice that the videos will load up okay, but the quality isn't quite there. It's not even running at 720p here, at least from what my eyes see. So it's really not an ideal YouTube experience, and a lot of the features you might get from an official YouTube app you will not get on here. And there's no way at the moment to easily install an official YouTube app on these Android tablets, so keep that in mind. There is, though, a version of Netflix and many other popular streaming apps on Amazon devices, but YouTube is the holdout due to this feud they're having with Google, which probably will never end, so just bear that in mind. One thing that does run very nicely, of course, are Amazon's own video services. So we've got, for example, here an Amazon video that just loads right up very, very quickly here because it's so tightly integrated with the device and its operating system. After all, Amazon tablets are designed for you to be purchasing Amazon content, and they make that a very smooth process here, and it's noticeably faster than any of the other services that are available on this platform. Now, this device is not a gaming powerhouse by any means, but it can run a bulk of the games you'll find in the Amazon App Store. A lot of these are the same versions that you'll find on the other Android platforms. This is the Android version of Minecraft. So if you've got a kid that's really into Minecraft and you don't want to spend a lot of money for him or her to play it on the road, you can certainly get by with this. It'll be a little sluggish, but not bad. And another type of game that runs very well on here are retro games. You can get emulators to play some of those old games, or you can download remakes like this one. This is the remake of Sonic CD, and it works with my Bluetooth game controller just fine here, and it's a pretty decent experience for a $79 tablet, so not bad there. One thing to note, though, is that Amazon used to have a lot more free stuff than they do now on their App Store for Prime members. They had something called Underground, and there was a bunch of stuff that was usually something you'd have to pay for on the Google Play Store, for example, that was free on Amazon, but they are phasing that program out. So a lot of that free stuff is no longer there, which I think diminishes the value a little bit of these tablets. And on the 3D Mark gaming benchmark test called Slingshot, we got a score of 239, which puts it exactly where the 2016 version of this tablet scored on that same test because it has the same hardware built in. So there you go. Not much has changed on the hardware front, but there are some software improvements. And speaking of, there's one last thing to take a look at here, and that is show mode. Amazon, turn on show mode. And you can see here now the regular FireOS interface has disappeared, and now we have this persistent Echo Show interface. And what they're saying is that this will actually work exactly like the Echo Show does. So we could, for example, say, Amazon, show me my video flash briefing.
Here's your flash briefing.
And now what it's going to do is pull up video content and display it on screen here, just like I would see if I had a Echo Show device. What I'm noticing, though, is that initially when the video starts up or when you pull the interface up, it gets very dim like this. So there are some kinks that they have to work out on it, but largely it is working like an Echo Show would, and all the things that you can do with the show you can do here. In fact, you could even have it look at your security cameras. They sell a dock for about $40 that will actually let this device work as a show when it's docked, and then will automatically revert back to being a tablet when you take it out of the dock. So you have that option, or you can just ask it to switch in and out of this mode. So I can say to it now, Amazon, turn off show mode. And then it will revert back to that tablet interface. Likewise, you can also do it from up on your pull-down control panel there. So it's pretty cool. You've got the ability now to kind of use this thing as both a tablet but also an appliance that works like other, perhaps more expensive Amazon devices with a screen. So by and large, I think it's an okay tablet. It's not the fastest thing in the world. It feels a little more sluggish to me than the prior editions did, just because it's got the same processor built in, the same amount of memory, but it's doing more. But for $79, I think it's a pretty good value, especially if you don't want to spend as much on an iPad. And I can tell you in my personal experience that these things, believe it or not, even though they're not built as well as an iPad, are actually more durable. I have two children. I've got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. The 5-year-old's iPad is smashed to bits. The 2-year-old has the smaller version of the Amazon Fire tablet here inside of the kids case, and that thing is still in pristine condition. It's caked with yogurt and who knows what, but it's still actually working just as good as it was when we got it, and the screen hasn't cracked yet. Yet the iPad inside an OtterBox case is smashed to bits. And I think it's a lot less risky to buy one of these for a kid or for a teenager or whatever than a more expensive iPad, especially given what these kids put these devices through. I do recommend, though, from a performance standpoint, that if you need something that is more in line with a higher-end tablet, go for the 10-inch device because it does have a faster processor that performs better than what you might see out of this 8-inch tablet or the smaller 7-inch one. But nonetheless, if you're looking for a usable tablet that can get at most of your media except YouTube, I think this is definitely something worth considering at its very reasonable $79 price tag. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold level supporters Chris Allegretta, the Four Guys with Quarters podcast, Tom Albrecht, Gerard Newberg, and Kalyan Kumar. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to lon.tv/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit lon.tv/s.